Hey everybody, my name is Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to make a video for those of you who don't drive, specifically people that are struggling with like some sort of health issue. My journey, I no longer drive as a woman in her 30s because of my visual impairments and my visual challenges with a diagnosis that I have had since I was 15. And so I wanted to make a video today because I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for people that have retinitis pigmentosa, which is a disease that I was diagnosed with at 15. And a big topic that comes up is a lot of people are very frustrated and depressed and just not feeling the fact that they are no longer able to drive, especially people who are young and it's not like they're in their 80s and needed to give up their driver's license. A lot of people are struggling with this. And yesterday, I also was struggling with this. And so I wanted to make a video about just kind of the experience of being somebody who had to stop driving very, very early in life. And so for me, when I decided to stop driving, it was about 3 years ago, actually. And it was okay with me because I, at the time, was packing up my apartment and going to become like a digital nomad. So I didn't really need a car. Where I was headed was Southeast Asia. And so I was just going to be like kind of not really backpacking, but traveling throughout the country. And I wasn't really worried about it. And then after I was going to come back from there, I had planned on moving to New York City, which didn't actually ended up happening. I ended up moving to a little tiny town in Mexico. And I ended up moving to a town in Mexico where pretty much everybody walks everywhere and the town's like a mile long. So as somebody who stopped driving 3 years ago, it didn't actually just hit me until about the last 5 months when I moved back to Dallas, which is a city that you need to be able to drive a car. It didn't hit me until recently about how this could feel really isolating, or it could feel really like lonely, or that you're missing out on something when you are a young person, especially somebody who's young, lives alone, and is single, who doesn't drive. So I had never planned on moving back to Dallas. I had never planned on like living back in Texas. And one of the main reasons was because of the fact that Texas is very car like heavy. Like you have to have a car. It seems like pretty much in all of the major cities, none of the major cities have great public transportation. There's certain neighborhoods, maybe like one or two neighborhoods in Dallas that's like walkable. Austin, maybe one neighborhood downtown is walkable. In Houston, I don't really know, like maybe downtown Houston's walkable, but for the most part, I had planned on not moving back to Texas because it's not walkable. And so about 5 months ago, I found my way back to living in Dallas because my business that I was a part of at the time was like really doing well. And I just felt like I didn't need to be living in Mexico, and I needed to be living in the state where my business was. So I recently moved back here, and it's really, really interesting how going from different places where I didn't need a car to now being in a city where everybody has a car and everybody drives, how it can feel extremely isolating because you kind of like feel like the odd man out. Like obviously I'm not at a place where I'm able to still be independent. I'm able to still like move around and walk around the streets by myself. I don't have like a dog, like a guide dog. I don't use a cane or anything, but I'm still able to like move around. But to the average person, when people hear that I don't drive, it's kind of an awkward conversation. It's kind of awkward. Don't even get me started. Like even dating is kind of just like an awkward, weird thing to be like, oh yeah, by the way, I live in this city that requires a car and I don't have a car. Like you always kind of have to explain yourself. And if I were to be living in a city like New York or a city like maybe Washington, D.C., where like a lot of people don't drive, it maybe wouldn't be a topic of conversation. But now that I am in a city where everybody does drive, it does feel kind of weird as a woman in their 30s that just doesn't drive. And also the fact too, like, it's interesting, when I was living in Mexico, in a really small town that was only like a mile long, like, you could walk to anywhere that you wanted to go. If I wanted to go to the yoga studio, or if I wanted to go to multiple different types of yoga studios, or if I wanted to go to this event or that event, everything was all within walking distance. Nobody was really driving. And so I just felt a lot more like accepted. And even though I know that that word is just kind of in my mind, I felt a lot more comfortable being myself and being like, hey, I don't drive, because other people didn't drive and everyone else was walking everywhere. And there was a lot of things to walk to. But as soon as I got into a really big city that does not have public transportation options really, and there's certain things you can walk to in my neighborhood, but the neighborhood I live in is the most expensive probably neighborhood to live in Dallas, because of its walkability. There's still like, it's still not that walkable. There's still only maybe one yoga studio that I could go to if I wanted to. There's still not like the bank that I go to, or the bank that I bank with. It's still not here, like in this neighborhood. I'm going to have to like Uber there. There are grocery stores in this area that I can walk to, but it's just, even though I'm in the most walkable, most expensive, most desirable area in Dallas, like, it's still kind of weird being somebody who doesn't drive because of like a disability. And I find myself too, also, like, because I'm not able to do something that everybody else can do, it's a mental challenge for myself to practice, like, understanding that there's not really anywhere that I need to be going. Like, I'm just kind of like fixating on it because it's something that I know that I can't do and everybody else can do. And so it's just something that I've mentally have had to work with on a daily basis when I am seeing people driving down the street and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're like headed to happy hour, they're getting to go over to this other neighborhood or whatever. Like, yes, I could be Ubering everywhere, but to be honest, I'm not 100% like social person, and I don't really like to have to get into a car with a stranger and make like small talk for 5, 10, 20 minutes just so I can go like get a change of scenery in the neighborhood like 15 minutes from me. So for me, like, I've had to really develop patience for myself and grace for myself as I navigate through the feelings of being different than other people. Like, it sticks out like a sore thumb here in the city, as I mentioned, where everyone can drive. Like, having to navigate like being different than others, not having something that everybody else does, which is like being able to drive. And I'm also having to learn how to just be slow in a city where everybody is moving very quickly. Everybody is like over here, over there, like going to this event, all of that. And I am having to remind myself that, like, Jordan, there's nowhere that you really need to be. You work from home. The only thing you really enjoy in the city is like being at the park or going for a walk on the trail, maybe an occasional yoga class. And so to me, I'm thinking like, these are all of the practices that I learned while I was traveling and I was in Thailand and going to my meditation trainings, that like, just being able to be okay with where you're at and be okay with what you have, and not fixating on the things that you don't have, and not fixating on things that like you don't really need. Like, in all reality, I don't really need to be able to drive a car. I have access to food. I have access to get outside. I have access to go sit at a coffee shop if I want to. Like, I don't really need to be able to have 15 different options of coffee shops that I can go to, or have 15 different types of yoga studios I can go to. These are all things that are just kind of in my mind. So I have, over the last 5 months, been really working on just being super present with where I'm at, being happy with what I have, and also not comparing myself to others, and appreciating the fact that like I do have a different life journey than most people, and that's something that makes me beautiful. That's something that makes my life's path and my life's journey really special. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today had I not had these experiences, this diagnosis. Like, I wouldn't have the understandings that I do now, that honestly, some of the understandings that I have about life and the true meaning of life and the value of life, a lot of people don't ever reach those understandings, even at like old age. So I have been working really hard since moving back to a city where like you do need a car to allow me to practice just all of the things that I've learned about myself and about life, and just really be able to tap in with myself and give myself grace and forgiveness when I do start to get frustrated. Like last night was a night that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. I feel so like I feel so like, lack of a poor word, but I feel like my legs are cut off. Like I'm like, I feel like I can't like go do. I feel stuck. And I, know that I was feeling like that because it's just, I feel like I've been secluded in the little neighborhood that I've been in for the past 5 months because as I mentioned, like I don't want to have to Uber everywhere. I don't want to have to spend like the extra money to go do that. I don't want to have to sit and like make small talk with a stranger for a while just so I could like go have a change of scenery. Those of you guys that know me personally know I hate small talk, like hate it. So getting in an Uber with somebody is just like super annoying. I suppose that if I live somewhere like New York where like the public transportation is a lot better, where everybody is just sitting there in silence, like it would feel a lot more comfortable to do that. But just having to get into an Uber to go over across the city just to go be like, oh, I'm somewhere different today, just isn't really great for me. So at least not right now in this chapter. So I wanted to make this video as I'm somebody who's trying to navigate being a young person who no longer drives because of a medical condition. Who knows? I've been heavily considering moving to a city after my lease is up where that does have better public transportation. But to be honest, most of those cities are in cold weather and they're in more intense cities than what Dallas is. Dallas is kind of like a lot more chill than like moving to New York City. I'll say that. So I have been considering moving to possibly New York City, which was my initial plan after I came back from Asia. But yeah, I've been considering it, and who knows where I'll end up in the next like 9 months. But I wanted to make this video because I have been personally struggling with the fact that I'm no longer driving. It does feel really isolating. Sometimes it is embarrassing to have to like explain that to people, because then I have to go into the whole story about like my vision and they ask questions and then it's awkward and all of that. So yeah, I've personally been struggling with this, and I know other people have been too, because I see it talked about all the time in the low vision Facebook groups that I'm in, of young people that are frustrated that because they can't drive anymore. And so if you're also experiencing that, I want to know in the comments, like, what are you doing to like keep your mindset straight? Have you found other like city programs or programs for, I hate the word disabled, but programs for people with low vision? Have you found anything that has been useful for you? What have you been doing to like keep your head straight when you are somebody who is just not able to move around as easily as everybody else is? I want to know in the comments below, and please, subscribe, share, subscribe this video. Subscribe to my channel, because I am actively trying to grow my channel to make this another form of income for me. As I mentioned, living in a city where you need a car to go everywhere, I'm really kind of limited to working from home and working with things that I can do from my living room. So I'm really trying to make my YouTube channel an additional source of income. I did monetize it last year, but it's like, you'd be surprised with YouTube. It really, it takes a while to start making money. So I really appreciate any support that you can offer. So thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next video.